Tonight, new legislation has been introduced regarding police oversight in this province. That story
But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start.
Let's be clear. If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready.
Trump's trade war begins. He says there's no room left for a deal, while officials in this country say they're ready and will retaliate.
The House of Assembly is back in session, but questions about who will lead the Liberal Party and who will be our next Premier are overshadowing all the proceedings here.
I've certainly had conversations about where I fit in terms of the party going forward.
I will be making a statement tomorrow.
I'm Terry Roberts. We'll have that story coming up.
You could say this is a very unique story on the Port-au-Port. A very injured snowmobiler, a search warrant and items taken from a home nearby, and very little else from the police. I'm Colleen Connors, and I'll break down what we know about what happened here on February 21st.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Evening, I'm Heather Gillis, filling in for Carolyn Stokes. We begin tonight with news that U.S. President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on Canadian goods are going ahead. They were paused last month, and now they're set to come into effect just after midnight. They do include a 10% tariff on Canadian energy. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says this country is ready, but efforts to fight those tariffs are still happening.
We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion, which is already known.
To politics from this province now, the next Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador will be announced 2 months from today. The Provincial Liberal Party has opened nominations for its leadership. Potential candidates must pay a $50,000 nomination fee. The party will then hold a leadership convention in St. John's to select the next head of the party and the next Premier. That's going to happen on May 2nd and 3rd. Candidate nominations close on March 24th. In the meantime, the House of Assembly opened today for its winter and spring session, but it wasn't politics as usual. Here and Now's Terry Roberts has the story.
The minister paid attention in the last sitting when this was all over CBC and it was asked in the House of Assembly. He would know that.
Inside the legislature today, question period was dominated by debate over healthcare concerns and controversial land deals. But it's Andrew Furey's imminent departure that is casting a shadow over the political landscape. Who will enter the race to become this province's 15th Premier?
I will bring that forward in the statement tomorrow.
Housing Minister John Abbott says he will make an announcement on Tuesday, but he was certainly in a jousting spirit today when sparring with PC leader Tony Wakeham.
Well, I would suggest the land is worth more than the value of the question being asked right now, Speaker.
Outside the legislature, Abbott skewered the PCs, saying they were void of substance, short on facts, triggering this response from the PC leader.
These are important questions that are being asked, and Mr. Abbott to say that that's a sign of arrogance and dismissiveness.
I've certainly had conversations about where I fit in terms of the party going forward, and that includes looking very seriously at the leadership.
And the health minister served notice that he's serious about a leadership bid, temporarily stepping back from his senior cabinet role and sitting in the back bench. John Hoggett says he'll decide later this week.
It's taken a little bit of time to certainly have some conversations with colleagues and most importantly my family.
There's discussions happening. That's what I'll say at this point.
And the Justice Minister is not ruling it out. And the longtime Liberal MP for Labrador says she'll decide in the next few days whether she'll attempt a return to provincial politics. Liberals have 3 weeks to decide whether they'll enter the race. And those who do will have to come up with $50 grand. That's double the nomination fee from the 2020 leadership race. Furey's replacement will be selected at a convention on May 3rd, and a provincial election must be held before this fall. The Premier was not in the legislature today. He's in Toronto at a convention. But reporters have been told that Furey will stay on as an MHA after his successor is named, so as not to trigger an unnecessary by-election. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
As people in this province continue to feel pressure on their pocketbooks, the province says it is continuing some cost of living measures. Finance Minister Siobhan Cody says she's extending the 7 cent per litre reduction in tax on gas and diesel. That reduction is sticking around until the end of March 2026. A 50% reduction in the cost of registering a vehicle will also continue, and so will the home heating supplement for people who heat their homes with oil. Cody says the province might consider making these measures permanent in the future.
We are seeing the reduction, of course, in our interest rates. We are seeing the slowing of inflation. But right now, it's a bit of a tumultuous time in our communities and our society. So that's why we're maintaining it stable, secure. You know, there may be a decision at some point in time to make this permanent, or, you know, it's a roads tax, right? I mean, this helps us pave our roads. And so it is important that we look at what we're doing from a taxation perspective and look at it holistically, and we will continue to do that.
The Provincial Minister of Justice introduced a new bill on police oversight in the House of Assembly today. Bernard Davis says that would establish a Law Enforcement Oversight Commission and the change to the process related to police misconduct complaints. Those complaints would first go to a civilian oversight commissioner who would then review the complaint and determine if it should be investigated publicly or by the RNC's Human Resources Department.
We've heard from RNC officers that would have had a process that started for a long period of time and had no sight in end or no end in sight for that process. This gives a finite period of time where there's check-ins throughout the process, would allow people the ability to understand where they're moving and how fast this process is moving for them.
Meanwhile, opposition justice critic Helen Conway-Ottenheimer says the bill is a good first step, but it doesn't answer other major oversight concerns. Conway-Ottenheimer says there also needs to be a bigger focus on offering training to police officers.
The real question is whether this meets the test of being a comprehensive oversight of the public complaints system. And it also has to address other things as well, which have been in existence in other provinces in this country, namely the fact that we need to have a police services board, an civilian oversight board.
A legal challenge of the 2021 provincial election was back in the province's Supreme Court today. Lawyers for 3 candidates argued there were irregularities that impacted people's ability to cast a ballot. Former NDP leader Alison Coffin, as well as PC's Jim Lester and Sheila Fitzgerald, are a part of that case. They allege some voters didn't get a voting kit while others got special ballots without proving their identities. Bruce Chalk, former head of Elections NL, has denied there were irregularities. Lawyers will be back in court on March 20th to argue if there should be a trial. The case could end up being heard after the next general election, which has to happen by this fall. The trial of a St. John's man facing dozens of sexual offenses has been delayed for 2 weeks. 64-year-old Tony Humby came into court in shackles this morning for what was supposed to be day 1 of a 7-week trial, but his appearance was brief. Lawyers are talking behind the scenes with the expectation of a shortened trial beginning now on March 18th. Humby is accused of sexually exploiting vulnerable youth for nearly 20 years. He has pled not guilty. He's facing 89 charges in total. 72 of them are expected to be dealt with in this trial. To the West Coast now, where the RCMP's Major Crime Unit is investigating a recent incident, one that has left a snowmobiler seriously injured. But as Here and Now's Colleen Connors reports, many questions remain about what happened, and they're unanswered.
The Gravels, the name for this isthmus that joins the Port-au-Port Peninsula with Newfoundland, the popular section of Route 460. Quiet today, no police presence near Gravels Pond or Front Street. But it was a very different scene here a week and a half ago. On February 21st, when Chad Hickey and a friend were on their snowmobiles, crossing this small saltwater pond. Police say at 4 p.m., Hickey fell off his machine. and suffered major injuries. But what caused those injuries remains under investigation. Hickey is currently undergoing treatment for head trauma at the Health Science Centre in St. John's, surrounded by family. Days after the incident, the RCMP searched a home on Front Street, close to the pond, and seized several items. No one is in custody, and police say there is no safety risk to those living in the community. And days later, the RCMP are saying very little, just that the investigation into this incident is continuing. They would not do an interview with the CBC. But they are asking the public and anyone who drove on this road behind me on Friday, February 21st around 4 o'clock to check their dash cam footage. Colleen Connor, CBC News on the Port-au-Port Peninsula.
Well, folks at Icewater Seafoods in Arnold's Cove celebrated a historic week. They finally picked up where they left off in 1992, processing the first harvest of northern codfish since the moratorium. The CBC's Gavin Sims paid a visit to the plant on Friday to see what it means for workers there.
Alberto, it's been a huge week for Icewater. What's it been like to have northern cod back on the belt for the first time in 32 years?
Well, it's huge for us. I mean, this plant only produces cod. So to have Canadian cod year-round, I mean, I don't know, I guess there's times we didn't know if we'd ever get there. We're here now. Monumental for us and for our people, for our customers as well. I mean, you know, this plant survived the cod moratorium by importing Faroese, Norwegian, and Russian cod for 32 years. And now we have Canadian cod that we're able to do year-round. So we have we'll do inshore cod as we did this past year, from late July through to middle of November. And now we have this offshore Canadian cod that will produce from late February to early May.
And what does it mean for your workforce and the community itself?
We've been the largest supplier in the town, the core of the town, since 1979. So as Canadian cod, you know, hopefully continues to recover, we'll invest more in this plant. We will need more people to work here.
You're old enough to remember, you know, back to 92. Like, what are your memories of that time?
Devastation for rural Newfoundland, but right now it's coming back finally. We're all excited.
Oh, the mood is phenomenal. Like, everybody is all upbeat, and you just like it's something that we've been waiting for, like, for a long, long time.
They're proud of the work they do as well. I think you saw earlier, you know, we have on each box that is proudly produced in Arnold's Cove, Newfoundland, and they are proud of that. A lot of them have worked here all their lives, right? So this is where they came to work when they finished school, and they're still here.
So, you know, the elephant in the room, we're on the cusp of a trade war with the United States of America. Tell us what that means, you know, for the future of this product.
Well, for us, I guess it's an issue for sure. I mean, 30 to 40% of our production that we were planning this week would be, or for the next, I guess, 10 to 12 weeks, would be destined for the United States market. We do have markets in Europe, but it's not the same utilization of the fillet. So we have markets in the U.S. that are preferred for a reason. It's, you know, a better price for a certain type of product. So, you know, right now we're developing Plan A and Plan B. Plan A for next week is no tariffs, and we continue to supply both markets and cut the fish as we've done this week. Plan B is Europe only, and there is some business in Canada, but it's primarily Europe. And that will change our throughput. It'll change our pack mix, the value we get. But, you know, for this plant to stay in operation, we got to have Plan B. We hope we stick with Plan A.
In sports news, two teams from Newfoundland and Labrador at this year's Brier got off to very different starts. Skip Ty DeLello and Team Newfoundland and Labrador started the Brier with 2 losses over the weekend, including a loss in the opening draw to Brad Goujiu. Goujiu and Team Canada, meanwhile, have stayed 3 straight wins. The team sits at the top of Pool A and is gunning for a 4th straight Brier win, and whoever wins that tournament will represent Team Canada at the Brier when it's in St. John's next year.
Well, we definitely had some cooler air today. A cold front moving through, going to drop the temperatures even more as we head through tonight. But taking a look, the weather on the way, basically expect some flurries potentially as we head through tomorrow for some of us, and then another messy mix by Thursday. We'll get into all the details coming up in a little bit.
Hi, I'm Arlette Lazarenko with the CBC's The Signal. March 8th is International Women's Day, and we want to celebrate a special woman in your life. She doesn't have to be a CEO or extraordinary in her career. She is extraordinary to you every single day. This year, we want to celebrate the women in our lives for the small things they do that means a big deal to us. It could be a sister, a mother, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor. Anybody that comes to mind, we would love to hear from you. You could email us at thesignal@cbc.ca. We would love to air your message or even have you on our show and talk about this special person. Happy International Women's Day.
Welcome back. For LA-based producer Greg Wells, the last few months have been like something out of a movie, for the good and the bad. Wells produced the music for the box office hit Wicked, but he also lost his home in the devastating LA wildfires. Wells was recently back in this province for a bit of downtime, and CBC's Melissa Tobin caught up with him at the Trinity Hall in Winterton.
What does the Trinity Hall in Winterton and the hit musical Wicked have in common? Well, come find out.
Come with me. What? To meet the wizard. Why couldn't possibly? This is your moment. I'm coming.
Wicked has exploded in a way that none of us really foresaw. It just got 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It is, despite only being out for a few months, it is now the highest grossing film musical adaptation of all time.
Greg Wells is the music producer for Wicked. He's also worked with Michael Bublé, Katy Perry, John Legend, and Taylor Swift, just to name a few. He also owns Trinity Hall and has a strong connection with Winterton.
My grandfather was born 5 houses down the road from here. And my grandmother's from just across the water, and I'd been here so many times as a kid. I think about being here all the time when I'm not here. And I feel a pull to being here. And last December, I just started saying to my wife, like, I really feel like we need to get back to Newfoundland. And she said, I agree. And then the fires happened.
Wells lives in the Pacific Palisades area of Los Angeles. His home and one of his studios was destroyed by the fires.
You know, it all happened so fast, it's like really hard to process what it was like. You just kind of have, if you're being chased by a dinosaur, you just have to like run, you know? It felt a bit like that. There was no water in the fire hydrants. There wasn't one fire truck that came to my neighborhood the day of the fire. I know there wasn't. There wasn't one because they couldn't do anything. There was no water. So it's insane. There was a huge reservoir. There is a huge reservoir in the hills above Pacific Palisades for this very reason. The reservoir apparently was either almost empty or empty because of some kind of thing that needed repair.
What have you learned about yourself in all of this?
That I'm not that attached to material things. I think I knew that, but now I really know it. You know, I could go down the list of like what's not there anymore. Like my Grammys are gone. Like the grand piano I recorded Apologize on is gone. Like I tried to find it when my wife and I got hazmat suits and went back to the lot with shovels and like, you know, masks and goggles and I was hoping to find like some stuff and I couldn't find anything. It just was obliterated, literally incinerated. It's crazy.
Wells was in Winterton for a screening of Wicked at Trinity Hall and a songwriting session with Alan Doyle. His next project, Wicked 2, is already in the works.
I've got to figure out how to dive into Wicked. The music in this second movie is very challenging and it's heavy. It's a heavier movie. That's going to take up a lot of focus. And I need somewhere where I can really like be in the dark room and just focus on that with nothing pulling at me. Like, you don't have a house anymore, or, you know.
Honey.
Honey. NyQuil Complete Honey. Effective cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste. NyQuil Honey. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, honeylicious so you can rest. Medicine.
Thousands of entrepreneurs don't have access to the support they need. Breaking down doors for entrepreneurs. We're on it. BDC. Financing, advising, know-how.
Kids, they just love to keep going. Having a blast? Go! Shining bright? Go! A snack with a good taste? Go, go! Go, go squeeze. Snack on, play on.
Welcome to Jackpot City, where a land of excitement is here for you to explore. Enjoy classic casino games such as blackjack, or take a spin with roulette. Explore our exciting virtual range of the best slots, including the Jackpot City exclusive Mega Millionaire Wheel. Everything's online, everything's ready, everything's for you. For endless entertainment, head to Jackpot City. Casino games perfectly made for you.
This was really nice.
Yeah, for the most part.
Jenny, you guys okay over there?
Yes, Mom. What are you doing?
It's for the insurance.
First dates aren't always simple, but submitting a claim on the Bel Air Direct app actually is.
A&W stackers are here. Single, double, or triple patty. And starting at just $3.99, you can get a whole stack.
Oh no, we're only stacking patties.
Stack and save with A&W stackers.
More Lotto 649 Super Draws are happening this March with 225 total guaranteed prizes of $10,000 and Super Draws every Wednesday and Saturday. More people are going to win. It could be you.
Blue Cross Health Insurance is about family, growing, living well, protecting the people you love and the things you've built, empowering yourself, and planning for the unplanned. Blue Cross Health Insurance for all the stages in your life.
Closed captioning brought to you by GMC's Truck Month. Get 0% financing up to 72 months on select 2025 Sierra 1500 trucks. See your dealer for details.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Ashley's here now with a look at our weather, and we're going to start with something that's cold, but a sure sign of spring. What is it?
Yeah, that ice moving south from Labrador. And I haven't showed this in a while, or actually not at all this season so far. Let's take a look at where the ice is right now. So the red is the pack ice that's making its way further south right now through the strait, even along the Quebec border there. And then we've got some marginal ice just outside of that. But yes, it is starting to move south with that current. But we do have some southerly winds expected in the forecast as we head through the next couple of days, especially as we head towards the end of the week, as we see some milder air move in. So right now, generally those winds are pushing we've got westerly winds rather for the west coast. And some cloud cover just offshore right now with a system that's tracking just offshore, bringing some of that cloud cover to the eastern portion of the island. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot happening. We've been seeing a few flurries in the mix there for the west coast, but generally sitting under a ridge of high pressure that is well to our south. But we do have some much colder temperatures up across Labrador, a little bit below where you should be sitting this time of year, in fact, and that's the case across the island as well. Hovering around the 0 degree mark today in St. John's, 1 in Bonavista, same thing for Cape Race, but those temperatures sitting around -6 for those of you in Corner Brook, Twillingate -3, and even Port aux Basques, you're sitting around -5 this afternoon. Those temperatures have dropped a little bit. We are seeing a cold front move through, and on the backside of that, some of the colder air, -5 now in St. John's, feels more like -10 with that wind chill. minus double digits. For Corner Brook, you're sitting at minus 10 right now with a wind chill feeling more like minus 16. Up across Labrador's temperatures still in the minus teens. Your wind chills, though, in the minus 30s. Especially for Nain at minus 33. So we're going to expect the colder temperatures and some wind chills in the minus 30s as we head through tonight under generally clear skies across Labrador. Minus 24 to minus 27 is your overnight lows. Temperatures for the northern peninsula dipping into the minus 20s as well. Otherwise, quite a chilly night, anywhere from about minus 8 in St. John's to minus 18 in Grand Falls, Windsor. And there will be a little bit of a wind chill. Temperatures will feel more like the minus teens and minus 20s as we head through tonight and even into tomorrow as well, as we hang on to some of this cold air through the day tomorrow afternoon. So basically through tonight, not a whole lot happening. We may see a few flurries for those of you on the west coast, particularly the southwest. The Avalon, we may see a few flurries as well, so don't be surprised to see a dusting on the car by tomorrow morning that you may have to sweep off. But other than that, clear skies tonight, allowing those temperatures to drop, especially through areas of central and up across Labrador. At least through the first part of the day will be nice. We may see some increasing cloud as the afternoon rolls on, but you may see a few flurries in the mix. That will be the story across the island as well. Most of us will be seeing a mix of sun and cloud. But again, don't be surprised to see a few flurries through the afternoon and evening hours, with most of the activity, like I said, happening for the southwestern corner of the province, and even more so as we head towards the overnight. That's the best chance of seeing some of that accumulating snow, and that will be the story for the west and even south coast as we head through early Wednesday for you as well. So as far as the snowfall amounts go, likely not much until we get to tomorrow evening in the first part of Wednesday, where some areas could see as much as 2 to 5 centimeters of snow in that time frame, and potentially even the higher elevations. You could see upwards of 5 to 10 in some cases as well as we see that snow move in. Temperatures tomorrow, like I said, are going to stay on the cool side. A little bit of a breezy wind either out of the west or northwest as well, between 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So although your daytime highs will sit in the minus single digits, your wind chills will feel like the minus teens. A little cooler for the northern peninsula, minus 9 to about minus 12 as your daytime highs, but again, some sunshine in the mix. And the story for Labrador, minus teens minus 11 to minus 13 or even 14, 15 degrees for those of you in the north coast. But yeah, you should see some sunshine and again, a few flurries in the mix. But we do have a warm up coming. So it looks like things will start as snow. Some of us could see some ice pellets, maybe even some freezing rain as we get to the Thursday timeframe, but I'll talk about that a little later. But for now, let's talk about Corner Brook, because residents have been making the best of winter at the Winter Carnival this last little bit. The annual 10-day event featured over 100 activities and officially came to an end yesterday.
I'm Dealey Robertson. I am one of the ambassadors for this year's Winter Carnival. So we're at the closing ceremonies. There's a whole ton of music going on. There's a lot of people dancing. There's activities for the kids. There's prizes to be won. There's a couple of photo booths. But yeah, right now it's just people getting together and celebrating and dancing, and yeah. It's been so much fun. Very busy, but it has been so much fun. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to get involved. We've seen a lot of community spirit and a lot of families and friends joining, and it's been super fun. Me and my family always participate in Winter Carnival, and me and my cousins always went. It was super fun, and getting to see little kids participate in it as well is usually really fun as well.
Hi, I'm Amy Dwyer, and I'm one of the ambassadors for the 2025 Winter Carnival. A lot of fun, a lot of music up there, dancing. I love it. It's just getting started. I just hope to see a lot more people out there. You know, I'll be going to all the events again next year, seeing how it's going.
So many events. There's something for everybody. But yeah, I think this year we had over 100 events, so it was super fun. But I honestly just love seeing everyone come together and working together and meeting new people, and yeah. I hope that it grows even bigger than what it is. It's the support and the commitment for it is crazy, but it's been super fun. So I hope it keeps growing.
Is there a part of you that gets sad every year when it's over, like that 10-day event is coming to a close?
Yes. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. We've been so busy the last 10 days. It's gonna be different, but Yeah.
Welcome back to Here and Now. After being delayed for a month, U.S. President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on Canadian goods are expected to come into effect just after midnight. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says this country is ready to retaliate with $155 billion in tariffs on some U.S.-made goods. I spoke with Tom Cooper, a professor of business at Memorial University, earlier today about the tariffs and what a trade war with the U.S. will mean for this province. Tom Cooper, thank you so much for joining us. First, I want to ask you, of course, the big question, it's still lingering. Are these tariffs going to come into effect tonight, or are we going to get another reprieve? But what kind of impact are these tariffs going to have on this country?
It's the great unknown when in terms of it's going to be tonight, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. This is part of Trump's negotiating approach, is that if he creates a lot of uncertainty, he thinks it's good for him. The impact, Heather, is going to be it's not going to be catastrophic because I think we've built up a lot of resiliency as a country. We've been through pandemics. We've done a lot of things, but it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt our supply chains. It's going to hurt individual consumers. It's going to hurt individual businesses. And it's one of those things that we don't want to happen. We want to have certainty. We want to know what things are going on. So it's going to be a challenging time.
And that is one of my questions. It's about certainty. Businesses and business groups that we talk to all the time say they love certainty. What does it mean for them to operate and try to protect their businesses and their employees during this time of great uncertainty?
Indeed. And it's basically short, medium, and long term. In the short term, you have to think about, okay, how is our day-to-day cost going to increase? Whether it's our cost of goods, whether it's our cost of services, what can we do? In the medium term, you have to think of, okay, well, do we expand into this different market, or do we build this new building, and all those sort of things that with that uncertainty around the tariffs and the increased cost, there's going to be decisions from there. And then the long term, you have to look up and say, is the United States the best market for us to be in? Should we be pivoting to other markets? And that costs time, energy, and effort to go into those new markets. And there's also risk for companies as well. There's uncertainty when you go into new markets.
I want to ask you specifically about the possible impact of this trade war on this province, because everyone knows we export oil, seafood, minerals. What do you think the effects will be on those particular industries?
They're all going to be impacted. Probably seafood, I would argue, probably more so than maybe minerals. But one of the things, speaking to business people, Heather, that I've found is interesting, you also have to think about all the parts that you need for all those industries. For example, in the mining industry, if one of your trucks breaks down and you need to get a part, that's probably coming from the United States. And if we have retaliatory tariffs, that's going to increase your price in terms of producing those minerals. Same thing with seafood, same thing with all of forestry, same thing with a number of other products. So our costs are going to increase not only in terms of exporting, but also importing.
There is talk about Trump bringing these tariffs in increments, in smaller bites. Is that better for business, or does it matter if they come in small bits, or just 25% on Canadian goods right off the top?
If I was a business leader, I'd want the smaller increments, at least because the pain won't be significant. But at the same time, it keeps on creating this uncertainty. It keeps on creating difficulty in managing, forecasting, and budgeting for my business. So what I would like to know is, like, what is this tariff going to ultimately look like for the next 3-4 years, or even longer if MAGA keeps on being in control in the United States?
Tom, you just mentioned managing budgets and forecasting, and that's what people do with their own pocketbooks. And I know a lot of people have been checking the labels on products to try to support Canadian producers. But when it comes to everyday people, what do you think the impact on ordinary Canadians and Newfoundlanders and Labradorians is going to be?
I think the costs are going to go up. I also think from a positive side, I think consumers are now watching where products are being made. If I was watching the Oscars last night with my wife, and I was struck by all the ads saying, "We are from Canada." Jameson's vitamins, who knew they were Canadian? You know, like, so I think there's a positive out of that. But at the end of the day, Heather, we have to think about how much is this going to cost. And we've been living in a time of high inflation. Costs have gone up over the last number of years since COVID. And now, if from a tariff standpoint, if our products go up even 10, 15%, we're going to notice that. And that's going to be a challenge, especially for people on fixed income, seniors, et cetera.
And on the eve of these possible tariffs and this trade war, we're not seeing any publicity stunts from the provinces like we saw a month ago. You know, provinces pulling American alcohol off shelves of liquor stores. Why do you think that is?
I think right now is that it's a wait and see kind of strategy. If the tariffs do come down, then I think we'll start to see some of that retaliatory element. The other thing is that you want to be able to work with the other side, and you want to be able, if Trump does pull those, do you want to be, okay, you do A, we're going to do A+. We're going to come after you even more. I think at the end of the day, you still want to have those open lines. You still want to have that negotiation. The great thing about business is that when you want to you do business together with people that you trust. You do business together with people that you like. And we want to keep those communication lines going. We want to be able to show that, yes, you know, you've put in that tariff, but we have been your longest trading partner for 100 years. We are the people you can trust. We are the people that you can like. So why are you putting in those tariffs? And hopefully those tariffs will only be short term.
And Tom, finally, if these tariffs don't go into effect, What's the damage? What's the toll?
I think it's still a lot of strategic thinking around what could happen. What do we do if he makes the announcement next week or today? And this is what Trump is, the great disruptor. This is a strategy for him. This is a negotiation strategy. He wants certain things, and the federal government has pivoted to put more money into security and put more money into the military, et cetera. He's gotten some of the things that he's wanted so far. But how much does he really want? We don't know. So there's a lot of strategic thinking, there's a lot of questioning, and there's a lot of discussion around what this implication is going to be at a micro level in terms of us individually, but also for the organizations that we buy products for, that we work for, and that we want to support. And then there's still huge amounts of unknown, Heather.
Okay, Tom Cooper, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
analysis. Donald Trump's proposed tariffs include a 10% levy on oil imports into the U.S. Crude is Canada's largest export and moneymaker, and the threat is forcing Ottawa and the provinces to prepare. Sam Sampson reports.
Looming U.S. tariffs have some oil rig workers concerned.
The oil sands are employing less and less people as automation, and so it was already a nervous time. This is just adding to that. So there's definitely some frustration.
U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed tariffs could slap a 10% levy on Canadian energy exports to the U.S. That would hit the largest export moneymaker, crude oil. Most of it comes from Alberta, which brought in more than $113 billion selling oil to the U.S. in 2023. For the first time since 2020, Alberta is posting a deficit, and how deep the hole goes depends on tariffs.
Budget for the worst, hope for the best, and make sure government has the flexibility to respond.
I think everyone is just guessing at this point.
This energy consultant was Alberta's representative to Washington during Trump's first administration. She hopes the past month was full of industry one-on-ones.
Behind the scenes, they can be having conversations with their American buyers, with refiners and others that use the resource to really explain the impacts that the tariffs will have on the United States and how Canada is part of the solution.
One solution gaining momentum, building cross-Canada pipelines so Alberta's oil can get to international waters from Canadian ports, so we could sell to countries other than the U.S. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe said any pipeline is pre-approved in his province. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith wants to get on the same page. East to west pipeline plans have been drawn up and shut down in the past, mostly due to environmental concerns or low provincial and community support. Now, some say climate change regulations would still hinder future plans.
Are we going to be obsessed with emission reductions regardless of how economically punitive they are to the country? Or are we going to accept that in a world that can't bring itself to be materially moving towards net zero, why would Canada give up this value?
Canada's emission reductions plan makes it clear the focus is on addressing climate change while creating a strong economy. Still, these tariffs, no matter how they play out, have sparked even more discussion on how that could work. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
And it's not just Donald Trump's tariff threats that have been preoccupying Canadians. It's also his recent taunts against the country's independence, a topic that likely came up during the latest meeting between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and King Charles. CBC's Crystal Gumansing reports.
Members of King Charles's staff here at Buckingham Palace shared images of the meeting between the King and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on the royal family's social media page. Based on those images, it appeared to have been a warm meeting between the Prime Minister and the King at Sandringham. That meeting really will be kept private. There won't be an official readout from palace officials because it's meant to be a frank conversation between those in the room. However, because the Prime Minister was here in the UK throughout the weekend for a security summit, we do have a good indication as to what he wanted to talk about. He said the most pressing issue for Canada and Canadians was Canadian sovereignty.
We will discuss matters of importance to Canada and to Canadians, and I can tell you that nothing seems more important to Canadians right now than standing up for our sovereignty and our independence as a nation.
Now, just because the issue has been broached with the King, that doesn't necessarily mean we'll hear any public statements from members of the royal family.
I can't imagine the King is ever going to make any kind of public pronouncement, either as King of the UK or King of Canada, without a very direct instruction from the respective head of government. It's much more about sort of calming things down. And I'm sure that in the margins, in private, there are discussions happening, but they won't be sort of table-thumping observations by the king.
In the meantime, there will be another very public meeting coming up for King Charles. That will be the second state visit of U.S. President Donald Trump. For now, it appears that will go ahead. As Hardman has said, the royal family has a lot of experience dealing with many different characters, all of whom have made visits here to Buckingham Palace. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Celebrating Black legacy and leadership. That was the focus of a big celebration at the province's Nigerian Association. They held that last week to close out Black History Month. And it was an opportunity for a growing number of Black business owners and artists to get together.
Black legacy and history is our past, our present, and everlasting song. Thank you.
Tonight, as we can see, we have set the roof on fire. Today is a moment where we come together to ensure that we recognize every blacks that are making positive impact in the province, not just in the province, all over Canada.
It's something that we all need in this community. We need to aspire to be leaders. We need to see people that are leaders in our community, bring them together.
I'm having so much fun. I don't want to go.
What's been your favorite part?
Oh, everything, especially the diversity in the music and knowing about other people's cultures and history is amazing. And then with the food, I just tasted Zimbabwean meal. It's amazing.
We have people exhibiting food now. We have people doing clothes. We have people doing hair. We have also people in the music industry, fine art industry. So it's an opportunity for people to know them. Aside from Nigerians, it's open to everyone.
If you want to know what is the culture of Nigeria, then you must have to travel all the way to Nigeria to experience the culture, experience the clothing, experience the food and language. But here, how lucky we are having association, Nigerian association coming here. Actually, Nigeria coming to Newfoundland.
Back then, when we did this type of event, there wasn't as many black people in the province compared to now, whereby I'm coming in and I'm like, I don't even know anyone coming to the province. Like, I don't know half people in there, which is amazing to see, by the way, because we never used to have this at all in Newfoundland. So it's a growing community and it's a growing black community as well.
The Black History Month or the Black Legacy is actually not even it's not even about Africans. It was actually something that came to life as a result of the fact that people that are not even blacks they stood up for black, they spoke for black. It's about coming strong, standing for people, speaking out for people that are vulnerable, that are helpless and all. So it's a very important thing for everyone.
Black History Month obviously is something that we all need to celebrate, no matter where we come from, what our culture is fantastic, and it makes us richer, not only economically, but culturally, in terms of community and the sense of belonging. And I think that that's extremely important, aside from those of us who like to dance.
Ashley's here with another look at our weather forecast. What's ahead over the next couple of days?
Cooling down, a little bit more snow, and then another warm up on the way. A little bit of everything this week. Let's take a look at what's going on. So we're in a quiet couple of days until we get to tomorrow evening, and then we may see a few flurries, especially as we head through the overnight for the west coast and south coast of the island. This will move through fairly quickly by Wednesday morning, so we may see a little bit of a dusting, but then by the time we get into the afternoon, most of that snow will have ended, and then we should see some clearing into the evening hours for the majority of the island and even up across Labrador. Fairly quiet day for you as well. Clouds will be on the increase by the time we get into Thursday morning. Daytime highs will sit into the minus 11 to minus 14 degree range for the most of Labrador along the Straight Northern Peninsula. Mid-minus single digits, and then the rest of the island will sit somewhere between -1 and +1 on Wednesday, and this will be the start of a little bit of a warm-up as we head into Thursday. So we will see clouds on the increase through the overnight. Snow quickly again will develop for those of you essentially the western half of the island at this point. Again, we'll need to figure out exactly where this goes, but there will be an element of mixing in there, whether it's ice pellets, some freezing rain potentially, and then over to rain as a warm front moves through. That will be the story pretty much across the board through the day on Thursday, hanging on to some of that mix a little later for the Northern Peninsula and along the northeast coast before that changes over to rain. And most of Labrador will be seeing some snow through the day on Thursday, and then eventually seeing that changeover as well as temperatures start to warm up. So daytime highs will be back up above zero between 5 to 7 degrees across most of the island, Northern Peninsula. Again, you're going to hang on to this potential for some mixing there most of the day. You'll likely see that temperature warm up later on and early Friday morning, but overall daytime highs between -2 and -5 along the strait, otherwise between -8 and -13 across the island. So we're going to hang on to that mild air right through Friday. Again, some rain and then back down below zero for Saturday. with a few flurries in the mix there. Same thing for central Newfoundland and the same for west. The potential for some onshore flurries will be the story for you. Eastern Labrador, you're looking at a warm up as well as we get towards Friday and Saturday up above 0 and then staying below 0 for the west. Our weather photo of the day is actually a photo of Western Brook Pond. A beautiful start to March. This was our March 1st there. Thank you so much for that weather photo. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
Well, that is just lovely with the mountains and all the snow. It looks more like winter, like you said, than it does spring, but we'll get there.
Well, that's normal.
Maybe in June.
Maybe.
Well, that is our show for this evening. Thank you so much for being with us. Good night.
Good night.